Breaking news. Changes to Trump's immigration ban, the new H-1B regulations, and the fingerprint notification for work visas. These are the three things happening in immigration this week. As we hurtle towards the presidential election, only 2 months out, immigration is still a major issue. I am immigration attorney Jon Velie and CEO of OnlineVisas, the intelligent immigration platform. Let's dig into these three things happening in immigration now. Number one, the requirement to enter the United States through a funnel of 15 airports has been lifted. However, the travel ban is still in full force for all of the countries that were banned before. That includes the U.K. and Ireland, the Schengen region, which is most of Western Europe, Iran and Brazil, and China, excluding Hong Kong and Macau. This means that if you're coming to the United States, you don't have to just come through those 15 airports anymore. This makes it a little bit easier. This helps the travel industry, which is really hurting right now, a little bit more. But you still have to get a national interest exemption if you're coming from those countries we just talked about. The national interest exemption is one of the few things that has been added to the work of an immigration attorney or anybody trying to enter the United States. We've done about 6 of them in the last 2 weeks. What I can tell you is a few things of a very fluid situation. Number one, it is very difficult to bring in the dependents of the worker. So if somebody has to leave the United States, make sure that the family stays in the U.S. or they may have a tough time going out and coming back in. And the worker may come back, but their family may not be able to. Number two, every country or consulate within the country is dealing with this in a little bit different manner, it seems. Some of these countries have changed it, such as London started with one process and went to a different process right in the middle. If you need help on the issue of the national interest exemption, please go to OnlineVisas and set up a strategy session. Nobody has a lot of experience on this. It is a very, very new thing, but we've done some and we can help if you need it. The second issue is when will these new H-1B, L-1, and non-immigrant visa regulations go into place? Our sources tell us that it could happen this week, which is the second week of September, or next week, or maybe even the first or second week in October. What we know is it's a political football, and the Trump administration is using this as part of its platform. So expect it to happen. One of the things that we know, or that we've heard, is that they really want to stay with the interim final rule way of introducing this regulation or this proclamation. What does that mean? An interim final rule means that they are not putting it out there to allow for the notice and comment period. What that means is that's typically 180 days or longer, and they want to do it now because they want its political impact. Now, what that means is it exposes it to court. Now, there is already one of these proclamations being sued right now by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and a couple of others regarding the H-1B ban and the other visas, which just went to court last week. So this one will likely be sued by the same organization. We've heard that they will do that if an interim final rule is brought up on this issue, because we think that these requirements will even be harder or very similar to these other ones that have been put out on top of the rules and regulations that have been promulgated by Congress, right? This is where the President of the United States has become Congress to change the law without any input from anybody else. And that's a very tough thing. There's a high standard to do that. It needs to be some sort of emergency situation in which to do it. In this one, if that emergency is the pandemic and the impact on a domestic economic downturn, then it's a really, really high bar. Because why is that an emergency right now when we see elements of the economy opening back up? We've just seen the NFL, the NBA, college football, schools being opened, universities opening. The economy and businesses are coming back online, not continuing to shut down at the same level. So it's going to be a pretty high bar. So we think it's a political maneuver. However, it will still have an impact and it'll be a tough one. So stay tuned for what those new requirements will be. We think they will be hard. They will be more restrictions on which occupations will be able to get a specialty occupation under the H-1B. We've also heard that the Department of Labor is going to issue new regulations, probably still through the White House and still through an IFR, that will increase the prevailing wage. The prevailing wage is the minimum amount of money that an H-1B worker can be paid for a particular county and state where that job will be. We'll see if those increases in wages will be reasonable or excessive, and then that will cause some limited outcry or harm to those companies. The third thing that is happening right now is the Biometrics Rule. This is a forthcoming rule that will impose the requirement of fingerprints to obtain non-immigrant visas like the H-1B and the L. Well, this issue will obviously slow down that process. Now, there is a process called premium process that allows you to obtain these visas in as little as 15 days, right? That's a requirement to make a determination in 15 days. If this fingerprint notification happens, that will likely not be able to be done within the 15 days, therefore removing that process altogether. It could also cause even bigger problems. So if someone was to get an extension on their H-1B or L-1, they can continue to work on that visa, continue to be paid if it's the same company, same visa, for 240 days. But if the fingerprint process takes longer than 214 days, they're not going to be able to continue to work. This is something that we see as a problem, and we see that this is another one of those issues that this administration has thrown in to frustrate American companies to be able to hire the people they need if those people they need are foreign nationals. If you think this has been helpful to you, please subscribe to the OnlineVisas YouTube channel. Also, like and share it. And if you have thoughts and opinions on this, please leave it in the comments. We'd love to hear what you think. If you need help on it, please go to OnlineVisas.com and set up a strategy session, and we'll have a conversation on how these impact you or could impact you. And we're glad to talk to you about that. I'm Jon Velie. I'm the CEO of OnlineVisas, and we deliver dreams.